Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another edition of the Chatted Up podcast. Man, it feels like we were just here.
But now we're back, baby.
But we're back. We're back. I mean, we had a late episode last week. We got an early episode this week. A lot of Chatted Up coming at you as I'm getting ready to go on vacation and head on out to North Carolina. One of your favorite states.
Yeah, raise up.
Yeah, with the Tar
Take
Heels.
your shirt off, you know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, dude, I got such a good tan like while I was at the ball field for 12 hours on Saturday.
Worth it though.
It was definitely worth it. Got to get that base layer down.
Mm-hmm.
We're all set. We're ready to go. And speaking of being ready to go, are you ready to?
Oh, well,
I mean, you effed up the first time. You ready to light the fires?
Let's do it, baby.
There it is.
There
Let's
we
go.
There we go. Get it started.
Pop the top, light the fires. Let's go. We've got a special guest in with us today, as you've already seen up on the video portion, Sam Dusenbury Jr. What's up, Sam D?
Gee, Chase, it's been a long time coming. Glad to be a part of the pod. Like the setup. Everything looks to be smooth. Really glad to be here, man. Thank y'all for inviting me on.
Of course, yeah, and it's going to be good. We're going to get a lot of you this week because we got you on the podcast tonight on Tuesday night. We're going to have you on the show tomorrow on Wednesday.
Yeah.
We'll be talking a whole lot of NBA, so we got a lot of good stuff coming up with the NBA draft coming up on Thursday. So we're very excited about that. We want to get our NBA expert in here, Sam Dusenbury Jr., to talk all things NBA and the draft with you. But we're going to start with the topic that we had last week on the pod.
Okay.
And it's going to be Steph Curry. Top 10 or not top 10? That, my friend, is the question.
Okay.
I don't know if you listen to where Chase and I and Miggy have them.
Well, I'll just
we differ.
Answer your question with a question. Who are you taking out the top 10 to put him in?
Bill Russell. No, I'm just kidding. I don't even have Bill Russell in my top 10.
I was about to say, like, that your top 10 is looking fraudulent already. So, I mean, you might as well just throw Steph in there.
No, I don't have Steph. So I didn't put Steph in there. Chase did.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I guess, Chase, who would you normally be taking out? Who everyone thinks is consensus top 10
I moved
to slot
out.
Steph in?
On the fly, I took out Will Chamberlain.
Oh, Chase, come on, man. I like you, Chase. Chase, come on now. Wilt is still 100 in the game, 50 a season? 50 a season.
Terrible in the fourth.
And terrible against Bill Russell, apparently, too.
Terrible against Bill Russell.
He had 5 Hall of Famers surrounding him. Like, of course, Bill Russell won 11 rings. It was him and like 5 Hall of Famers against just Wilt. And Wilt kept dragging a team to the championship year after year, but he kept losing to 6 Hall of Famers.
Yep.
But he still dropped 40 a night.
He was only averaging 22 and a half in those games.
Against the Celtics in the finals.
Yes, and also in game 7s alone. He's terrible.
So you're using analytics and advanced metrics for someone who played in the 50s and the 60s.
I sure am. I'm getting.
Come on, Chase. You are better than this, Chase.
I am not, actually. I've got you fooled, my friend. I don't know. There's always been this Wilt thing for me. Whenever, because during the pandemic, I got really nerdy and tried to find as much stuff as I could. With the Last Dance going on, I was like, I want to actually watch some of the old players.
Right.
And Wilt is one of those guys that really good athlete, but there are times when you watch into games. I mean, it was just crazy because I would like to have seen him not having sex with hundreds of thousands of women and, probably having a good diet in the 2000s. That'd been really cool because he'd have been a really good.
Who?
Huh?
Who?
Wilt.
In the 2000s?
Yeah. Well, I still think Wilt
2000s having a good diet now. Like he would be such a good 5. Like he'd be such an amazing 5 even now.
I can tell you this right now, Chase. Even if he was right now, he would still be betting 20,000 women.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
So, he was called the Big Dipper for a reason. You know what I'm saying? So
I think Wilt would be
no matter what era.
Wilt would be on that DM game hard.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He wouldn't even have a cell phone. Like, cause it's just because what's the point? They just come up to him. He doesn't use social media. I'm just Wilt. Hi, I'm Wilt. Room 112.
Is that the ghost of Wilt Chamberlain here in our podcast? I don't know why we have 3.
I was about to say, is Miggy sneaking in? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, the owl just picked it up. Okay, now
there we go.
All right, yeah.
They got more of me. There we go. Come on, Al. Figure it out.
So I think if you want to take out Wilt, I obviously have to push back against that. But I think I've been hearing a lot of comparisons in terms of now he's the best point guard. And I think that's where I'm not afraid to have that conversation because, Magic is always in that conversation. Some people put Isaiah, Zeke Thomas in there. I also do. Some people even put Big O. So now if you're going to tell me you want to take out Big O and put Steph in there, I would not do that because I've had too many conversations with my older uncles who swear up and down about Big O. But I'm open to listening to someone tell me why Steph is better than Big O. But when it comes to Wilt, who outside of, who's a better dominant? Because I think that's the key there. Just like Shaq wasn't the best center of his era, but he was the most dominant. I think that's what you're getting with Wilt. Wilt wasn't the best center because obviously you had Bill Russell and then later Kareem, but he was the most dominant of those three in that era. I don't know how you take out someone who's the most dominant big in their era in a game where height is such a vital part of it, like basketball.
I think for me, my list is I'm definitely in the wing category. I have Magic and Bird. I mean, Magic being point guard, but
didn't you put Bird up high?
I have Bird at 5 when I watch him play.
Okay,
he is.
I'm not mad at that.
Yeah,
Let's just run down the top 10. Come on.
Oh gosh, I don't even remember what my top 10 is. I do remember that I had Bird at 10, and I think I had, and you're gonna.
Wow, Bird at 10. Okay, I like it.
Yeah, you're gonna get on me for this one, but I put Tim Duncan at 5.
I'm not mad at that. I love Tim. Tim Duncan's the greatest power forward to ever play basketball.
Let's go.
I
really thought you would give me some pushback on that one.
No, he played. He was a two-way player. Played defense.
15-time all defense.
Yeah, no, Tim Duncan is up there for me. He's in my top 10.
Yeah,
it's hard to name 6 or 7 basketball players to ever play basketball that are better than Tim Duncan. It's extremely hard.
And Tim's probably the greatest teammate of all time, from what people talk about. Just in general, dude-wise, he and Steph are just the perfect teammates from what it sounds like. Just good all-around dudes. But I mean, Magic has.
I'm gonna go get
air conversations.
I'm gonna go get. I wrote all of our top 10 lists down, so I'm gonna go get them. Hold on.
Okay.
Continue.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
Yeah, I think with Tim, it's hard. I can't slot him no lower than 6th. I can make an argument why he's not top 5, but it's hard for me to name 6 or 7 guys that are better than him at basketball. It's just extremely hard, especially with his accomplishments.
Yeah, especially with his accomplishments and him winning late adds that for
Correct.
me too.
He won young. He got chips when he was young, and he got chips when he was late. So yeah, he got 4 or 5 rings. He got 5 rings, right?
5 rings, and probably could have added Tim was still probably the best player in that Tony Parker Finals MVP run,
right?
But Tony was great in his own right too. So.
And Tim could have had a 6th if he doesn't miss that layup in Game 6 against the Heat.
Oh, I forgot about that.
If he doesn't miss the bunny, he could have had a 6th. He could have had a 6th ring. So yeah, Tim Duncan he's top tier. He should be on everyone's top 10. I don't see how anyone could really make a strong case against him. There's no better power forward. You can't give me Karl Malone because of his failings in the finals and just being a horrible human being. You can't give me Chuck because Chuck never won a ring. You can't give me McHale. There's certain guys you just can't put in that conversation. He's just so clearly better than them.
Yeah. The Big O part's really tough because my family is on that Big O train for a long time too.
Right. Yeah. He averaged a triple-double. He won a championship. He was the best player of his era for a very long time. It's just, again, I understand era talk makes things look weird where it's how do you translate a guy that played in the 60s into the 70s? How do you compare him to a player from this era? Well, it's look, if you're the best of an era, you're the best of an era. I don't like crossing eras because if you're going to take someone from the 60s and put him in today, that's improved nutrition, that's improved metrics, studying film, breaking down tape, and fundamentally more sound. But then that means we got to take a play like Steph and drop him off in the 60s, where he's going to have less ability to practice, less nutrition, less practice time. So
and less value, right? Because there was no 3-point line.
Correct. So if you're going to have that era talk, it has to work both ways. It can't just be, drop someone from the 60s here and they're going to be how good. Well, let's put someone from here and put them there and see how much worse it would be. So that's where for me it's hard to do the era cross match like that.
I never really think about it. I've never done that before. I never really thought about it, them going back. I always do the thing where I add, like, if you were to drop, people on the Michael talk, I'm always like, if he would have known about 3-point and spacing as it is now, he would be just as good. But
and with the defensive rules, he would score more. He would score more freely. You can't hand check.
Nope.
You can't touch him. You touch him as a foul. Whereas back in the day, we've seen Last Dance, you can literally clothesline him, and it's not even a flagrant.
Just a personal.
Yeah.
It's a personal.
Just a common foul.
Yeah, common foul. Touch foul.
No monitor reviews.
No.
Yeah. So that's always the thing. It's like, well, if you're gonna do it that way, then let's like if we put Shaq in the 70s, oh my God, he's not going to be as strong. He's not going to be as fast. He's not going to have the dribbling capability. Is he better than Wes Unseld? Is he better than Bob Lanier? I don't know. But if we take Wes Unseld and drop him in 1995, give him handles, give him a 15-footer, and give him strength and conditioning and protein shakes, now he might be the Wilt of this era.
Possibly.
He might be putting 50 a night. So that's where, to me, it gets a little confusing, but it's always a great conversation. But Steph is still not top 10. I can't do it. He's in that 10 to 15 range if I have to put him somewhere. But top 10, I just don't know who you're taking out. I can't take him out.
My biggest thing was I don't think he's top 10, but I think eventually if he continues to play at a high level, I think eventually he will be top 10 just because he changed the game in such a way from his 3-point shooting ability that I think eventually he will get into the top 10. But for me, he just doesn't have the numbers right now to crack that top 10.
Can someone be such a dominant one-way player and be top 10?
I think so. If you change the game enough to as much as he has in terms of shooting the basketball and the greatest shooter that we've ever seen, I think. And the amount that he's won, if he didn't win anything,
right?
I think that we're probably not having this conversation.
But see, I think that's the problem I have, because like all the guys that we talk about who are top 10 all played both ways. All of them played offense and defense. When you talk about Michael, when you talk about Hakeem Olajuwon, even if you want to go to obviously Bill Russell, who was more defensive than offensive, but still was able to contribute offensively, was not the greatest shooter by any stretch of the imagination. But when we talk about the usual suspects, Magic played defense, like Bird, young in his career before his back started acting up, played defense. So it's kind of like we're going down the line of all these guys that are on everyone's perennial top 10, and they play both ways. Whereas Steph, we know the liability that he is on defense. As great as he is offensively, teams still openly hunt him to get him in foul trouble or just to abuse him because he's so frail. So it's just kind of like, it's hard for me to put someone to that pedestal on the same tier as guys who have played both ways at elite levels and just slide a guy in there who's so heavily one way, but he won a couple of championships, so we have to do it. Like, because that's like someone putting Dominique Wilkins in the top 10. Dominique Wilkins is not a top 10 player. He's a top 10 scorer, but he's not a top 10 player. He was Swiss cheese on defense. He was a bucket of all buckets. So that's what to me is like, it's hard to make the case for putting someone who's so deficient on one end, but immortal on the other end, in a class with guys who were immortal at both ends.
Yeah, I think Vince Carter and Dominique Wilkins are two guys that were just like, listen, I'm just going to let you go by me. I want this outlet. That's all I want.
Yeah, I'm conserving my energy for offense.
Yeah.
And that was it. And Dominique is one of those guys that it was hard because, I mean, yes, he had some all right teammates here and there, but he was so heavily relied on that it really hurt him a lot. And it's like, man, I always wished he would have had a running mate as a Hawks fan. But
But his best teammate was who? Trey Rollins? Young Doc Rivers?
Young Doc Rivers, probably. That's probably his best overall.
That's horrible. I mean, if that's your best running mate, that's horrible, man. Like Kevin Willis, alligator arms, Kevin Willis. Like, you can't.
Who would young Doc Rivers be? Like, who's a player comp? Do we know? I didn't watch. Obviously,
He couldn't shoot. He wasn't a facilitator, but he played defense. Maybe he's a bootleg Marcus Smart.
Okay,
but Marcus Smart can shoot a little bit.
Yeah. What about
maybe not Rondo. Rondo's
was he a point guard?
He was a point guard.
by default because of his height.
Correct. Yeah, he could never be a 2. So he's by default a 1. His dribble, he wasn't the greatest dribbler either. So it's not like he was taking guys off the dribble and creating opportunities for others. Like he just stood there and initiated the offense and then ran away from the ball.
Yeah,
but he played the defense.
A non-shooting Marcus Smart.
Maybe
what we're sounding like right now.
Avery Bradley.
Avery Bradley's a good one.
Okay.
I was thinking more along the lines of like Tony Allen or Tony Snell or something like that.
He wishes.
They're not.
He wishes.
They're not. They're not point guards.
But
those guys are too big. Yeah.
And Tony was too good of a defender.
Yeah.
I do like the Avery Bradley comp because he is one of those guys who'll bring up the ball.
Yeah. Pass it and he runs to the corner.
Jog over to the corner, baby.
That's it. Yeah.
Tony Snell just jogging the whole freaking court. That's it.
Tony Snell, he's the king of the triple zeros, right? He's played multiple games to just 0 points, 0 rebounds, 0 assists in like 20 minutes.
Just play defense.
Just out there doing cardio, wing Yeah, that's it.
Cardio and collecting checks.
That's it.
It's not a bad life.
No. All right,
sign up for it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right. Well, I got our top 10 list here. Okay. Do you want mine or do you want Chase's first?
Let's go with Chase because he's actually putting Steph in the top 10. So let me see who I think is a glaring omission.
Do you have it off the top of your head, or do you want me to read it?
I've got it.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah, I'll just start from one down. MJ, LeBron, Kareem, Magic, Bird, Kobe, Shaq.
Okay.
Duncan. Shaq. Okay. Those three, Kobe, Shaq, Duncan. I just threw them on there. They're all, to me, they're like the same.
The same.
Like era. Yeah.
Oh, same era. Okay.
Yeah.
Like as far as like it was really tough for me. I didn't know who I wanted. Those three are just
interchangeable.
They're all right there in that tier, that next tier, I guess. For me. And it's hard because it's little stats here and there.
Awesome.
Yes.
And then wait, I did switch out. I made the last second change.
You had Bill Russell at 9 and Steph at 10.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I just did the Russell thing because the rings, it's hard not to. I guess
right.
It's just the greatest winner thing. And
so for me, I think there's a couple of guys where like I wouldn't have Kobe in the top 10. I don't have Kobe in my top 10. I think Hakeem is missing. You can make a case for Hakeem, even though it's just 2 rings. I think he was the top. He was the best big of his era.
Yep.
Patrick Ewing's pretty good.
Yeah, until the finals.
Yeah.
Till the finals.
Can't miss the bunnies, baby.
I mean, he had no running mate either.
I mean, John Starks, 3 for 17 in Game 7, right?
It's like
3 for 17.
James Harden status.
Walking bucket, baby.
Gosh.
Terrible. Yeah, I think I would put Big O in there. I think because of our era today, we don't want to give credence to the OGs, but I growing up watching basketball ad nauseum in nerddom like I did, I can't omit some of those guys. So some of those guys to me will always be grandfathered in. So Wilt to me will always be grandfathered in. Big O for the most part will always be grandfathered in. And then like Kobe, like can we have the Kobe conversation? I love Kobe, rest in peace, him and Gigi, all of that. But top 10 of what? Like, can you really have Jordan somewhere between 1 and 3 on most people's list and then have his clone in the bottom half of the top 10?
Why can you not?
Yeah.
He's a facsimile. When is the bootleg ever that close to the original?
Because he was that good.
That good of a bootleg?
Yeah.
So him as a bootleg is better than Isaiah Thomas as a 1 of 1?
Yeah, because I don't think Isaiah Thomas was a 1 of 1.
Who was he a clone of?
Well, I'm just saying like there are other really good point guards like Kobe. I mean, you had MJ, and then the closest thing you could have to MJ, who is the best thing we've ever seen, is Kobe. That's the way I look at it.
Not D Wade.
No, not D Wade.
When I watch, I think that's the eye test of Kobe.
Why is that such a quick no? I'm impressed because I mean, D Wade won a championship by himself, younger in his career. Kobe never did that. I would argue Dwayne Wade was better defensively, even though Kobe had a lot of defensive honors just as much as D Wade. But I think in terms of just locking people up and playing the passing lanes and getting steals. Dwayne Wade, to me, was better at that. And then orchestrating the whole big three thing, we see how he was better with teammates than Kobe certainly was. I mean, he chased Shaq away and then browbeat Pau Gasol into submission before he finally got his shit together. So to me, I think there is a D Wade Kobe argument to be had for that second spot of greatest shooting guard of all time.
I think D Wade, that's the hard thing about
he
D-Wade.
did more with less.
He did do that for the first run, and especially like his prime, like that, because he had a very short window, I feel like, of unbelievable D Wade. But Kobe's length felt like it. The prime Kobe felt longer. D Wade just got beat down, and then also like you get a little overcast whenever you're with LeBron.
I was literally just gonna say that he's a little overshadowed when you've got LeBron on your team.
Yeah, but
Kobe was always
before.
the best player.
I think him having that 06 chip really put him in that conversation to me. If he would,
he had Shaq as well.
He had an older Shaq. That wasn't real Shaq. That was post Lakers Shaq. Post Lakers Shaq was never the same.
Dominant Shaq.
I think prime Shaq was actually Orlando Shaq. If you really want to keep it a buck.
Yeah, I know. I know you're on that train.
Yeah. So, but I mean, in terms of what D Wade was able to do in that series, I mean, that Maverick team was just better.
Yeah.
That Maverick team was better, and he just found a way. Now, he got help from the rest by going to the free throw line a million times, but he found a way by just being aggressive and forcing them to make the call. So that 06 chip, to me, weighs more in this legacy conversation than the two chips that Kobe won with Pau Gasol and Andrew Bynum.
Really? Because I mean, the bottom part's so frustrating because I wanted him to be so good. He had it back, especially in that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
But damn.
Well,
dude,
I mean, you look at Kobe at the end, he was just a chucker. I mean, Kobe was chucker his whole career, but more so on the back half, he was just putting shots up. I mean, the last game, 60, I think he almost took 60 shots to get 60 points.
I think he did take right at 60 shots.
So it's just like, I'm not going to reward that. Like, it was great. It was a great moment, but I'm not going to reward that in legacy talk. Whereas D Wade has had to play numerous roles throughout his career. Once Kobe became the man, he never stopped being the man despite the team's success or lack thereof. Whereas D Wade had to learn to play with LeBron and Bosh and that whole thing. Then he bounced around to find his way in Chicago and then Cleveland before ultimately ending up back in Miami and becoming quasi the man again, but realizing that there's some youngins like Bam, like that need to come in and be aggressive and be assertive. So I have more respect for the longevity of what D Wade was able to do, albeit in a far smaller sample size as compared to Kobe. But I just don't. As a Jordan guy, it's hard for me to just put his clone in a top 10 because, like, to me, that's cheating. Yes, he had the abilities to do it because we all wanted to be Jordan.
Yeah,
I mean, he was actually able to have the physical skill set, the mentality, the hard work, and the ethic to actually go be a Jordan facsimile.
Was he a better shooter than Jordan?
I'm sure over the back half of his career, probably. Because then you have to add in the fact that he was taking threes throughout his whole career. The three-pointer was a weapon his whole career, whereas Jordan didn't realize it. When did the
three-point line come into play?
I believe that's in the early 80s or late 70s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that'd be in the late 70s, like 78 or 79, I think.
Yeah, so Jordan didn't start taking threes a lot until like the second three-peat.
Yeah, 79, 80.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Jordan didn't really utilize the three. Now, he shot decent from three. He just didn't shoot them a lot.
Do you know who made the first ever three-pointer in the NBA?
No.
79, 80. I'm going to just say.
It was a Boston Celtic.
So Bird, not Bird. That's
not
too
Bird.
easy.
It was, I've never even heard of this guy.
No, not that. ML Carr. Dennis Johnson?
Mm-mm. He's got a basic name.
Oh, well, I mean, the Celtics have a lot of those. I give up on that one. I tap out.
Chris Ford.
Oh, he went on to be a coach. He ended up being a coach. Interesting.
Yeah, Chris Ford. How about that?
First
trivia. One. I would have never gotten that.
Did he put up the three antlers?
A little three to the dome.
Yeah. He started that trend. That was the guy.
All right. Now let me throw my list at you, and you can rip this one apart for sure. I've got MJ at 1, as my notebook is in the way of the camera. MJ at 1, LeBron at 2, Kareem at 3, Magic at 4, Duncan at 5, Wilt at 6, Kobe at 7, Shaq at 8, KD at 9.
Ooh, spicy.
And Bird at 10.
Well, KD being top 10, he's certainly going to get there eventually. I think when you look at that might be where Big O slides out and KD slides in. So I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at your list. I'm really not. I think someone of your age and your era, that sounds like that's their top 10. Like I think when I talk with my friends who are slightly older than y'all, we were kind of forced. We were forced to have the 70s guys in our faces. Like there's some people that still think Dr. J is top 10. He's never been in mine, but I have people that will swear to you up and down. They got gray hairs in their beard and they walk a little slow, but they will tell you Dr. J was it, and they'll never hear an argument against it. So, like I actually have a cousin who's older who thinks Earl the Pearl is top 10. Black Jesus, Earl the Pearl Monroe.
Wow.
He thinks he was like, you just had to be there. And I get that because there's some guys that I watched back in the day in the 90s. I'm like, Stephon Marbury. He's never mentioned in these conversations, but I'm like, you just had to be there. You had to see him play. Different. When you saw him play and the way he dribbled in, like, oh no, that's top tier. Like, I don't, so to me, I have a guy like Marbury, not top 10 all time, but in terms of like the point guard conversation, I always throw Marbury in there because I'm like, you just had to be there. You had to go to Coney Island and see him cooking dudes on the courts. Like, it was amazing. And then he did those same moves in Coney Island on the courts against Kobe, and it worked against Kobe too. So I'm like, oh no, you got it. You're top 10. Like, if you could do the same move to a janitor on the block and do it to Kobe and it still worked, no, you got it.
All right, what's the who do you have higher in that point guard conversation? Is it Chris Paul or is it Stephon Marbury?
Oh, the point fraud is not even on the list. He is disqualified. He doesn't deserve the right to be there.
Christopher.
Yeah. I like to imagine that after that series, Sammy D was a very happy man.
Oh, the last two, him choking in the finals last year, blowing a 2-0 lead again, losing 4 straight. And then there was reports this year of him playing with COVID, allegedly. That was after catching the Rona last year in the playoffs against the Nuggets. He went running around Colorado doing Lord knows what with the laws that they have now, catching COVID. And then you go catch COVID again in the playoffs.
Dang.
Again, allegedly. But I mean, this guy's fraudulent. It's just, he's fraudulent. There's just no way else around it. And the basketball guys have said so and made it so.
Well, I kind of want to spawn off that because Kennedy Chandler, Tennessee Vol here.
Okay.
They're talking about like his lack of size. Like, he's only 6 foot, really good athlete, does everything well.
Mm-hmm.
But these small guards that are 6'1" or below,
mm-hmm.
you know how they get hunted in the NBA.
For sure.
Are you scared for somebody like Kennedy Chandler? I don't know how much you watched the Vols this year, but like, I'm sure you've seen
I popped in a little bit. Yeah, I popped in. He's not the most stout fellow, right? If I remember correctly. So that's going to be his issue. And that's something, even with the point fraud, you've seen him bulk up a little bit over the years. Now, he still gets hunted because he's 6 foot in. If you see him with sneakers off, he's not even 6 foot. So, that's going to be the issue more so than the height. If you're too easy to back down at the next level, then you're not going to get a lot of run. You have to pack on some muscle. That's why you see someone like Marcus Smart. He's 6'3", but he's stout. He's got some heft to him. He's been in the gym. He's been working out. He wasn't this big at OK State, but he's put in the work in the gym, and now he's a little stout, and he's able to hang. I mean, he's guarding fives. He's guarding fives. Now, I wouldn't want him doing that a whole game, but on a switch, on a random possession, he could do that. So if the weight room is involved, I think that will go a long way more so than, trying to play taller than what he already is. So I think it's more so, if you're going to be sub 6'3" in this league, you have to be stout. You just have to be stout. There's no way to be frail. Because you look at a guy like Jordan Poole, he's like 6'3", but he's like 180 pounds. So he was food on defense. Like they just kept hunting him. Like we could hunt Steph or we could hunt Poole. We're going to take them both in the paint. So that's where you become a liability. Is if you're not that much of a scoring threat, and I don't recall him being that much of a scoring threat, more of a facilitator.
He fill it up.
He can fill it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll go back and watch.
Towards the back half of his collegiate career, he started to fill it up a little bit. I think early on.
And was he shooting or he was scoring?
It was both. I mean, he could shoot a little bit, and he's very quick getting to the cup.
Yeah, his first step's pretty quick, but he's shifting. He's straight line speed. He's top tier. I think he actually was the fastest guy at the combine.
Okay,
big time vertical leaper. That kind of straight line athleticism, quick, but not like you've seen some guys. With him too. Like you're talking about, the switchability sucks because he was rated. I mean, he is like a top tier college defender, like up there in all those weird little analytics that I don't always understand, but they have him. But but when you watch him eye test stuff, he is a very good on ball and a good, like kind of guard central help side defender for what good steal guy. But it's just so different in the NBA, man. Like you're talking about, it's just so pick and roll heavy. And if guys like Jordan Poole can get hunted,
they will find you.
For him. They'll find you.
Yeah, they will find you. You cannot hide on that court. So I'm looking at his stats now. 6'1.5", 172. Yeah, that's too light. He's got to pack on at least 15. And
that's why I was kind of hoping he would come back to college. I know he's real good and he's got pro potential, but like, get another year under the belt.
Yeah.
Put on, get on that Zion diet a little bit.
Yeah, that's well, look, that Zion different. That Zion diet is different. I don't know if you want to do that because it'll be 15 pounds of fat, not muscle.
Yeah, that's the side effect of heart stroke diabetes,
Yeah, for sure. Too much jambalaya for Zion, but being that frail is what would be more of an issue. But if he can play at least 10 pounds, if you get to summer league and pack on 10 pounds, I think you'll see a noticeable difference. But I see, he can fill it up a little bit. But again, can that ability translate to the league? And getting 16 a game in the SEC is a little different than getting 12 in the league.
Yeah,
especially most likely coming off the bench.
I was just going to say, I was looking over a mock draft as we sort of transition into the NBA draft now, and the San Antonio Spurs, ESPN has them picking Kennedy Chandler at 25 to go along
25. Yeah, on the mock I'm looking at, they got him going one spot lower to the Rockets. So it seems like bottom of the first round. So he'll definitely be on the bench. But I mean, if he falls to the Rockets, he might actually get some PT. He might actually get some run. But
I saw that John Wall is probably coming back to the Rockets.
Well, they need to do something with him. I don't know if he'll actually play a game for the Rockets, but he has to at least start showing up and practicing with the team and reporting and stuff like that. So whether he actually plays for them, I don't know, but he does need to start acting like he's a member of the Houston Rockets franchise.
Did you guys see the thing today? It's a little breakdown of how much he's got paid per game with the Rockets.
No, but I know it's a lot.
What do you think, G? Guess.
Per game?
Per game.
Oh, gosh.
It's got to be at least six figures, right?
I was going to say a couple mil, or at least 1 mil, 2 mil.
$3.1 million.
Ooh, it's good to be John Wall.
It's like good
based on how many games he played.
Yeah.
Oh,
what he's got paid so far. And then I guess I didn't see, I think it's $34.3 million or something like that. We get paid next year.
And the contract keeps going up.
Yeah. We had this question last week on the pod, but I was curious now that we mentioned John Wall. Would you rather have a career that's John Wall, or would you rather have a career that's Draymond? And I know you're not a Draymond guy, the habitual nut hitter, the whole thing, but a guy who's not I can't even see what you're doing. The guy that's like, are you talking about getting the money?
Yeah. Give me the money. Yeah. You can keep those accolades. Cool story, bro. Those rings look nice. You know what's better? $30 million a year.
Oh man, he's going to be a Hall of Famer probably too, Draymond.
I'll be a Hall of Famer at my bank My bank will roll out the red carpet for me whenever I pull up.
Well, I mean, Draymond's probably going to go work for TNT. He's going to either go along with Chuck and then eventually replace Chuck. I'm going to replace Ernie, so I'm going to be working with Draymond at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But
Gotcha.
I mean, he's going to be making a lot of money too.
Well, here's another name I like to throw out there: Chandler Parsons, legend at the bank.
Yeah,
inconspicuous. No one knows who he is. That's the guy I want to be. No one knows me, but I got a shit ton of money in the bank.
I want to be Chase Daniels.
That's a good
He's
one.
another one.
Backup quarterback.
Mike Glennon.
Yeah, Mike Glennon.
Mike Glennon keeps falling into backup QB jobs, getting 10, 12 million a year.
Nick Foles.
At
Get your
least he
one
won a
shiny
ring.
moment
At
of
least,
glory, and then
yeah.
you get just so many
cash
checks.
out. Look at your man's Matt Flynn back in the day with your Packers cashing out on the Seahawks.
Game.
Yeah. That's
One
it.
game.
One game.
6 touchdowns, 1 game.
Cashed
Bang.
out.
Didn't even start.
Didn't even start ever.
Russie got him all up out of there. Yeah. So, I mean, I'd rather be the guy that makes bank, especially with John Wall, where I don't even have to play. Like, I don't have to go through the wars like Draymond, the bumps, the bruises, the flights, the travel, doing the pod on the road and all that. Like, I don't got to do all that. I could just literally just stay at home, work out at my own gym, and collect 30 mil.
That ain't bad.
That's great work from home.
I mean,
like,
he's still
work from home and I get 30
whatnot.
mil.
You got no glory. You're kind of looked at as maybe somebody that's kind of like a bust.
Okay. It's like,
give me Draymond, dude. Again, I don't like Draymond, but like give me the glory,
why?
give me the rings, give me that bag.
I want the rings.
Yeah.
I want the parade.
You can buy a ring.
Yeah, but you can't buy those moments.
These guys auction off their rings later in life.
I don't
all
care.
The time.
You still can't buy those moments though. Playoff glory, winning 4 championships, like being in that locker room, going through those wars, like that's
cool.
what you play for.
So okay, so now let's take it off Draymond. Let's name another guy who's won a lot of championships. Let's say Kavon Looney. He's got what, 3 now?
Kavon Looney.
Would you rather be Kavon Looney or John Wall? You won a lot of championships, all the glory. He's a god in the Bay Area. But if he walks into y'all studio right now, y'all wouldn't know who he is.
Like who? Yeah,
I would probably notice Kavon Looney, who's 6'.
He's just tall. He's just tall, but you don't know who he is though.
I know Kavon Looney.
In street clothes, not wearing a jersey.
Yeah,
he walks in street clothes with a hoodie on. You know that's.
I think I probably know Kavon Looney.
I wish we had the ability to test that because I wouldn't know. I'm an NBA nerd and I wouldn't know what his face looks
Come on, you know Kavon Looney, dude. You're not giving yourself enough credit.
I mean, if he walked in wearing a hoodie and a mask on, protecting, I wouldn't know who that
Okay, well, yeah, if we're talking about a mask, well, then yeah, no shit, I'm not going to know who he is.
Even a hoodie, though.
The hoodie is one of those.
I respect your acumen. You wouldn't know Looney if you walked in there.
Yeah, Looney is the kind of guy I'd be like, I know who that guy is, but I can't think of his name.
Like, yeah, I know he's tall. I know you play for somebody, but I just can't. And he's got 3 rings.
He's got 3 rings.
Yeah, and in that instance, I'd probably take the money and go John Wall. But since Draymond's gonna be like a Hall of Famer and he's been a big part of those championships.
And let's be clear, he shouldn't be a Hall of Famer.
No, I agree with you. I don't think he should be a Hall of Famer. I'm just saying, like, he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer. Not. Do you think he should be a Hall of Famer?
Because probably not. Like, honestly, like with Game, no, but like
there's only one Hall of Famer on that team because Clay was trending that way, but I think the injuries hurt his chances.
Yeah. That's just going to be Steph.
Draymond's going to average a triple single and get into the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
What do you think about? What do you think about his claim that he's the best defender of our era?
That means it's a pretty shitty era. Because I don't think he's as. Let me try to think of. Is he better than Robert Williams? A healthy Robert Williams?
No,
he's not as impactful.
Giannis
is another one. Even Anthony Davis.
Well,
there's a bunch of guys who, if they're healthy, they're better than him at what he thinks he does.
I was going to say, but Draymond can guard like all 5 positions. Robert Williams can guard all 5 positions.
He's gotten killed by all the top guys. He's been killed. Yes, he can guard them because he's 6'6". He can fit in between, and he's got enough bulk.
He's more versatile.
He can bang in the paint. Yeah, but that doesn't make him better.
He's just more versatile.
Yeah, but I don't think that makes him better. I think people get caught up in he can switch from 1 to 5. Like, yeah, and he'll get killed from 1 to 5, depending on the matchup. Yeah. Giannis would have destroyed him. Anthony Davis, when healthy, has destroyed him.
Jaylen Brown destroyed him in the finals.
Jaylen Brown was cooking him. So it's just like, yes, he can guard guys. Yes, he could defend, but I don't think by any stretch he's the best defender of this era. Not when Giannis has had defensive accolades. Anthony Davis, I think, has been robbed of a few defensive accolades. Like, there's clearly guys that are better. Rudy Gobert, I think to me that's more about his blocks. But I mean, even Gobert, no, I can't do that. Gobert is trash. I was about to make a case for Gobert, but I can't do that.
Don't do it.
But yeah, I think there's plenty of guys that are better in this era defensively at what he thinks he does that are better than him. For sure.
Well, we'll spin back and forth here. Real quick, I do want to ask you this. We talked about it last week. Do you think Giannis can scratch the top 10 with the way he's trending?
That's tough. I think if he could have pulled off a back-to-back, he would have leapfrogged a lot of guys.
Yeah.
If he's not able to get another chip, then that ring looks like an anomaly more so than a predication of the hard work that he put in. The numbers will certainly look video game enough to get him in a lot of people's lists. I just don't know if he'll have the merit to get there long term. One ring in the top 10, that's going to be hard to justify. That's going to be hard. Like, you got to be like of a Wilt type status to be in that conversation, in my opinion. So I don't know if we lose Giannis within the next 2 to 3 years and he doesn't get another ring, if he somehow retires early, I don't know if he's top 10. He'll certainly be in the next top 100 that they're going to. Well, he was in the top 75, right? I think he was in the top. He was in the top 75. So yeah,
wasn't Draymond in the top 75?
Was he?
No.
Sorry, I hope not. If not, then this pod is going to take a turn, and we're going to have to dissect that.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of somebody else.
Yeah, no, because I've always thought about Giannis being probably the next guy that's at least in that conversation. Kind of like how like KD is in that next chunk of guys too. Like, he's in some people's, right outside others, and especially in our era. Especially in our like generation time now, like we all kind of think, like, when I watch KD, I'm like, come on, talent wise, dude, you watch this guy, it's like ain't nobody guarding that guy in any
era. Yeah, he's a 7-1 guy that can shoot from the logo.
Yeah,
and can dribble past most defenders.
Well, I do want to talk about another skinny man real quick. We'll roll over to Chatt.
I was just gonna ask. Yeah, go ahead.
So the enigma that is Chatt. So obviously, he looks the part. He looks like I don't think he's a bootleg KD. I think he's a bootleg Brandon Ingram, who I call Young Reaper. I mean, you can't be 7 foot and under 200 pounds. I just don't know how that translates. Like, we look at how Dirk at his peak was hunted because he was slow of foot, was tall, gangly, wasn't in the best physical condition. I think Chet slots in in that same type of mark where he's obviously even skinnier than Dirk was. And even though they claim he's been working out, I just don't think it's going to be enough. Like, the legs are too small. The legs are too frail. When you have to establish position in the paint, even if he's going to be more of a perimeter guy, which it seems he's going to be, at some point you're going to have to go get rebounds. At some point you're going to have to box somebody out. He just can't do that at this level. He's just physically not going to be able to do that. So unless you're just going to say, look, just be out there, you're going to be a 7'2" guard. We're not going to ask you to do anything wing worthy. We're just going to have you camp out on the perimeter and don't even think about doing anything on the inside. Then I think he might have a chance. But if you're actually going to try to make him a 3/4, that to me is setting him up for failure.
My hard thing about Chet is, like you said, it's like, how many guys really post up nowadays and are even decent at it? I watch Tatum suck when it comes to post up. He has no offensive skill set. Sometimes he can shoot over the top guys, take a little slide dribble and get in the middle of the paint, but there's not a lot of post moves out there. So that part's going to be tough.
Drew Timmy.
Teammate.
Okay.
But what I like about Chet is he does have the mentality. I do like the mentality of, like, even though he's frail, he's going to the paint. He's going to try to dunk on you. He's obviously a great shot blocker. The guy has really good instincts.
Is he going to be that at the next level, though?
I do think he's going to be the shot blocker, but one thing I will say I agree with you on, I think he gets punished on the boards for a guy that's 7 foot. Like if he's going to average, he's a guy that I could legit see being a 7'4" guy that might get to 210 eventually.
Is it like Kristaps?
Kristaps was even heavier than him at this point.
Yeah,
and he was
railed then.
Skinny, going into the league too.
Yeah.
But if you're a guy that's 7'1" or 7'2", whatever the hell he is, only averaging 7 rebounds a game, that's the hard part, man. Because he's got the stroke, he's got the ability, and he is an unbelievable help side defender. He's not he's not Draymond Green who can be super switchable and everything.
Sure.
But,
Imagine Chet getting caught on an island against Steph. How that's going to look.
Boy,
that first time.
Well, Chet was the guy that went viral for getting Steph with the behind the back dribble, if y'all remember that.
Yes. Yes. I remember that.
Yeah. So, Steph's he's going to
Steph definitely remembers that.
He's going to get him back.
He's going to do this as soon as he can. He wants to hit him at the night.
He's going to
cross him up, do a little step back 3 on him, and then hit him with that night. Like, all right, well, welcome to the league, kid.
So what do you think would be a good landing spot for Chet? And in some of the mock drafts, I've seen him going to the OKC Thunder.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot too. I actually think if he slid a little bit, I think Sacramento would be a good spot for him. I don't know. I doubt he'll get there, but I wouldn't be mad if he slid to the Kings because the Kings are such a horrible franchise that the one thing he'll be able to do is play right away. And there'll be no pressure because everyone knows that the Kings stink. So if he goes to OKC, now will be the beginning of their process. So we saw how that worked when you had Jabari Parker out there, Evan Turner, all those guys that they took early in the process, Nerlens Noel, all those guys had too much pressure heaped upon them, and they all smoked it out. Now, if you're doing this with OKC, now they got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, so he's like the linchpin, but now you're starting to see the fruit of their rewards with these lottery picks. I don't know if I like Chet being there. I think the pressure's going to be too much because he needs time to develop. I don't see him being a real factor for at least 3 years, at least. And with the way OKC is going with all these picks that they have, you would think that allows them time. But I think Presti's going to leverage those picks at some point and go get a guy, go get an elite player. That's going to speed up the time. Like they could be in the mix for Dame Lillard because they have so many lottery picks. And Portland is finally, from what I've been told, allegedly, they're finally actually considering the right scenario if they ever do want to move on from Damian Lillard. So Chet, if he slid, he needs to slide. To me, to reach the apex of what he could be, which G, to your point, it was the Kristaps, the Latvian world star, Porzingis. I think he has a chance to be that, but I think he needs to start to get the first 3 years of his career in a place like Sacramento or even Detroit. I wouldn't be mad at that either, even though Detroit's hit on the draft pretty well the last couple of years.
Yeah, got some good pieces there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad, but I think ultimately, if I had to pick and slot him somewhere, I would let him fall forward to the Sacramento Kings.
And the only I'm reading something here that says the only teams he's worked out for are OKC and Orlando. Like he knows he's going top 10 to top 2.
If you're Orlando, why would I look? I love Jabari. You can talk me out of taking Jabari, but if it's not Jabari, why does it have to be Chet? If you're Orlando, wouldn't you even entertain the possibility of Paolo?
Chase would not.
Paolo is the most ready of the 3. I think.
Don't they need that right now?
That's what I would think. But I know from what I listen to, it is all about if you miss on Chet,
But what are you missing out on? He's not generational.
The way
the hype is
there, and he is a guy they keep talking about that could lead the league in blocks and 3-point percentage, and be. I heard a good comparison of what his floor could be was a rangier version of Al Horford, where you could probably win a championship with him out there, and you're going to be able to space the floor. He can fit in with a lot of guys because he played with some talent last year and was able to take a back seat. He can run the floor, and also he can handle pretty well. Even though it looks weird, the hunchback over, that fun stuff.
Yeah.
It looks weird, but he does have a good handle, great shot, and he's got he wants to play some ball, and he's got a tenacity about him.
You know what that sounds like to me?
What's that?
Jabari Parker.
Oh gosh, but Jabari was
saying. I mean, everything that you described, I heard the same thing about Jabari Parker, and I was like, I wouldn't have taken that high. So Chet, to me, like everything that you described is not someone I would take at the second pick or the number 1 overall pick. So I mean that he's not going to lead the league in blocks. Like he's not going to do that. I don't think he's going to get enough time on the floor to do that early. Like, to me, at some point he will.
At some point, that's what I was talking about. It's kind of
if he projects. I mean, I guess. But I thought that about Porzingis, and we saw how that worked out. Gino knows more than me. But I mean, it's just it's. I just wouldn't do that. Jabari is intriguing, but to me, like you said, the most ready-made player is Paolo. And I think Orlando actually has some pieces where if they tried to win next year, they could. They could make the playoffs next year if they wanted to. So that's why for me, I'm like, why are you passing on the most ready-made guy? Like Jonathan Isaac is an enigma. Mo Bamba, we don't even know if he's going to be there. They have room for Paolo if they want.
Yeah, Paolo can slide in just about anywhere. He has that ability on offense to score at all 3 levels. Like, those guys from Seattle did such a good job with him. Like Jamal Crawford and those dudes, shout out to those guys. They were just like, hey, dude, get your ass out of the paint. You got to score. You got to be able to be a point guard in some facets. And he is a really good scorer. Not the fastest guy in the world, but can go score and can handle. Struggles on the defensive end a little bit, but sometimes everybody else does. And if you he's just
it's the NBA. I mean,
everybody does a little bit because these guys are really good. But like you said, I like him in Orlando in a lot of ways, and I wouldn't be mad at any of these top 3 because I see the potential in all of them, especially like Jabari. Man can't dribble really. I mean, he can dribble all right, but he just doesn't. But he's one of the most efficient scorers, and he is a freaking killer, man. I watched a lot of Auburn this year. I'm a big SEC basketball guy, especially last year. That dude is a stone cold killer. And that tenacity and he's a work ethic guy, probably the most overall versatile defender as far as on ball goes. Dude, I love everything about all 3 of these. I like a lot of things about all 3 of them. Obviously, the Chet part is high ceiling, lowest floor guy to me. Because I think also he could be, I think he could even be like injured Porzingis, where you're only going to get him 40 games a year maybe, and you're going to pay him a lot of money because you have to because it's the league, and that's what scares me. But I love Paolo.
Yeah, Paolo is a guy where I think, if you're trying to win now or at least get the appearance that you're winning, you take him. I think Jabari, you're going to wait a year or 2, but I think the impact he'll have even coming off the bench early will be stronger than what Chet gives you early on in the first 2 years. I think Jabari will be more impactful than Chet the first 2 years. I think Paolo will be more impactful than Jabari the first 2 years. And then after that, it's just about who's on that team. Who's going to be there to help those guys? If Chet is still there and they have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and they have the pieces that they're building around him with all these lottery picks coming in after him, then maybe he could slide into being that 4th option, like how Andrew Wiggins is with the Warriors, and he could kind of flourish to where there's no pressure. I'm just a dude. I'm just here. I'm not the franchise. I could just go hoop. I think that's my concern with him. If you're depending on Chet to be a face of your team or like a number 2 option on your team, I think that's where you're in trouble. But if he's going to be more of just a high-level role player, that's why I think he slots to me in this league, like a 3rd, 4th option on a good team.
All right. Well, we've spent a lot of time on other things other than the draft. So let's hold off on. We were going to talk about, what are the Hawks going to do? What are the Grizzlies going to do? Let's save that for the live show on Wednesday. So if by some stretch of the imagination you listen to this before we do the show on Wednesday, Sam will he'll talk about it on the show on Wednesday. If you listen to this after the show on Wednesday, you'll be able to go back and get the podcast up on the Word with G podcast page for the show with Sam, the DL segment on the Word with G. Again, it's usually Wednesdays 1 to 2, but we're making a little adjustment this week, 12 to 1. Anyways, so I wanted to ask you this question because you are very good at identifying talent and things that, you've been scouting and recruiting since you were in high school. I love that story about how you just would scout for your boy that was on the team, right?
Yep. Yes, sir. My best friend was on the team, and, I would try to scout as the game was going on and take notes and feed him information at halftime or, if the coach would even listen, I would yell stuff to the coach from the bleachers, like, no, pick and roll. They're doing it again. Like, stop having them drop. Have them push up. Like, just, yeah. So, yeah, I've been out here critiquing basketball and absorbing as much basketball as I can for about 20 years now, 20 plus years, probably 25 years, actually.
So the one guy that always stands out to me when it comes to draft time is you were big on Tyrese Halliburton going into the draft, and you told me, like, man, the Knicks should take him. This is going to be a guy, because I always pump you for, in terms of what are the Knicks going to do? Stop it. And I knew right as that was coming out of my mouth, I was like, I know that's coming. I know that's coming. So who in this draft, is there somebody that sort of reminds you of the Tyrese Halliburton, somebody maybe not with his skill set, but somebody that's not getting talked about as highly as you think they should be?
Well, I'm going to go with a guard here, Ryan Rollins. He's a guy where he's a combo guard. I've seen some comps to CJ McCollum. I think he's a guy where, much in the mold of like how a lot of people thought about like Anthony Simmons of the Trailblazers. Like, I think he has a type of skill set that, to me, works best in today's NBA. And for some reason, it's not being held in high value. When you look at what he was able to do, if you just watch, sometimes you have to throw the stats out and just watch someone play and then project. I think that's where we get lost in scouting, is that we watch what somebody does in college and we just zero in on that. It's like, well, that works here against other 18, 19, 20-year-olds. How is this game going to work against a 32-year-old? That, to me, is where my mind starts to work. Can you get by a savvy vet with the move you just pulled off on against an 18-year-old? And with Ryan Rollins been able to do is he has an old man game right now. And that, to me, is like, you have an old man game and you're 20? Okay, yeah, take him. At least low first round. I've seen some mocks where he's in the second round. I don't think he's second round talent. I can make an argument he's top 20 in terms of just talent and scoring ability and just skill set overall. But what Ryan Rollins is, I think, going to be able to do is be able to get to his spots. And that, to me, is the lost art. A lot of guys can dribble. A lot of guys can drive and kick. A lot of guys have a quick first step. But can you get to your spot? Like, if you watch Kawhi, if Kawhi ever decides to grace us with his presence and play basketball again, you watch Kawhi, his main thing is he gets to his spot. No matter where he gets the ball, he's going to find a way to get to the elbow. He's going to find a way to get to the left baseline, and he's going to put his shot up because he knows I am money from those spots. What I see in Ryan Rollins is a similar type guy that knows where his spots are, and night out, even though it was Toledo, and we know that's not a power 5 or anything like that, but he was able to get to his spots and put buckets up. And I think that's a thing in the league that is sorely missed. And I think some team is going to luck into him at the bottom of the first round, maybe even the second round, and get a guy that's going to be in that echelon of like a Draymond that's a second round pick, or Isaiah Thomas, IT3 that was a second round pick, and just kind of surprise people. So Ryan Rollins, Toledo combo guard. He's a guy, if you want to say CJ McCollum is his peak, he has an Anthony Simmons skill set right now. I think he's a guy that projects to be a sleeper in this draft.
If Thursday night, if the Memphis Grizzlies go and grab him, I'm going to be like, dadgummit, that man was right. Those boys hadn't missed, man. Those boys hadn't missed. And that's why I was just thinking about that late round with Tyus probably leaving in free agency. They need that backup guard. And I was thinking, man,
that'll be a good spot.
I was like, that seems like a stealer. That seems like a guy that would, a little slow-mo action over there in Memphis will fit right in.
For sure. He would slot in really well because he'll get limited minutes. He'll obviously have a lot of talent to learn from going up against Ja and even Bane in practice, like, still sharpen steel. If he's able to get into a program like that where he's going against top-tier talent every day, sky's the limit. Because the old man game's already there. Now you put him going against learning more tricks, going up against guys like Ja and Bane. No. That will be almost too good of a fit for Ryan Rollins.
Yeah. That's what upsets me. It's all about fit, especially if you're the guy, if you're Kennedy Chandler, if you're Rollins, if you're guys like that, it's not the worst thing, because I guess he will be a little undersized. He's slender, but he's real long. Like I was talking before. He's got that 6'10" wingspan. He can cover ground. He's not the fastest guy. Like, his athleticism is like the biggest knock that I was kind of looking at here. Like, but when you go somewhere like Memphis or you go to a Spurs, even, like, he's going to get some playing time. He's going to get some run. But like you mentioned, he won't be the best. He doesn't have to be the best guy. He don't have to be a top 7 guy, really.
No.
He's got to handle the ball, get to your spots, make some buckets. And also that places like Memphis right now, culture-wise, dang, man, you're doing just fine down there.
And that's why we should abolish the draft, because a player should be able to pick the team that has the best fit for him instead of just a crapshoot, not just going to a team with a dumb GM that doesn't know basketball, just picking, teams from Big 5 universities just because he recognizes the name on the front instead of the name on the back. So, I think a guy like Ryan Rollins should be able to pick where he wants to go. Kennedy Chandler, to your point, if he could be able to choose a system that fits him, much like they're able to choose a system that fits them when they go to college, it should be the same way in the pros, but that's a conversation for another day. But to your point, I agree. If they're able to find the right spot and the right fit, sky's the limit. But more times than not, as we see with all the draft bust every single year, a lot of these guys just don't end up going to the right situation.
All right, before we get to my thought-provoking question for the podcast to finish things off, you have any other draft-related questions you wanted to throw at Sam D?
Well, he did mention very, very dumb organizations. I want to ask one last thing.
Go for it. Fire away, baby.
How bad? To me, I love Jaden Ivey. Like, watching the guy. I mean, I know he's had a couple bad games, but he's also like one of the guys, the eye test guy, where you're like, holy shit, dude. Yeah. This guy jumps out of the gym. He does everything right. He gets to his spots. He looks like he's bored out there in college basketball. He was so good. Like, that talent level is high level. But if the Sacramento Kings don't take him because they have De'Aaron Fox, how bad would it be, Sandy?
It would be the most King thing ever to do that. It would be, they had Tyrese Halliburton, who G knows I absolutely loved, as you mentioned earlier, and they got rid of him for Sabonis. And while Sabonis is an all-star, he puts up 20. It's empty points. It's unimpactful stats. It's empty stats. Here's the funny thing about it, and I know the Kings didn't plan on this. Jaden Ivey reminds me a lot of Halliburton. If they're able to slide in another Halliburton clone after trading Halliburton for a Sabonis, that would almost make you think the Kings know what they're doing. But we know they don't. So they just lucked in to potentially getting Jaden Ivey. And, when you look at what people claim his weaknesses are, it's ball handling. Now, he's projecting to be a 2, but he's only 6'4", much like Halliburton. A lot of people didn't know if Halliburton could be a point guard at the next level because he doesn't have the prototypical height for either position. So, and he was able to be a point guard at this league. So I don't know if you take Ivy to be a 2 or if you take him to be a 1, because at some point they have to move on from Fox. I don't know if that's going to be this year or next year, but at some point they're going to move on from Fox. This is clearly not working, and there's no reason to continue your investment in him if they actually care about winning. So let me preface that. If they actually care about winning, they'll move on from Fox. He got the bag. But as we've seen with John Wall and Russie, these contracts could be moved.
Yeah.
They'll find a way. They'll take someone else's trash to give it to their trash. So I think when you're looking at what Ivy could do, he's a bucket. He can shoot. He can drop it off in terms of assists. It's just, can he drive and kick at this level? That's going to be my question for him. Can he drive and kick? Or if he's just going to be a 2, is he going to be a Clay 2 where he doesn't need to dribble that much? He just needs to just catch and shoot. I don't really view him as a catch and shoot guy, but if he's able to penetrate a little bit, improve his handles a little bit, and hopefully Jaylen Brown's doing the same thing for what we've seen in the finals, what we saw in the finals. But if he's able to dribble a little bit, get a couple of secondary dribbles, if he goes to that Steve Smith school, the Smitty school of the hesitation dribble, that could be a move that I think he could really utilize at the next level. But that to me will be the biggest bugaboo with him is, can he get to his spot off the dribble? I think he could get to his spot in catch and shoot type situations, but can he get to his spot off the dribble? So the Kings may king and fall into another guy that fits that Halliburton role. But even if he does, we know he's not long for Sacramento because no one is long for Sacramento except for De'Aaron Fox, apparently.
Yeah, that's it. I just had to ask that one. Go ahead, G.
Apparently so. All right, it's time for our thought-provoking question of the podcast. This one, I try to do sort of a life-provoking thought-provoking question, but I really couldn't find a good one for this one. So I'm going to go with a sports-related one, but it also sort of ties into what you do on your podcast. So if you had the ability to take any 3 players from the NBA and have them on your podcast, who would they be and why?
Okay.
And Chase, if you'd like to answer this question on your NBA Takeover podcast as well, you're more than welcome to answer this question, or at least think about it and see what you come up with.
This is really, I would like Jimmy Butler, because I think Jimmy, as much as he talks a lot of shit in post-game interviews and stuff like that in press conferences, I think if you can peel back the layer even more, he would really give it up. Like, the real story of that infamous practice in Minnesota, he only told that to Rachel Nichols and maybe some front office guys around the league. So there's a whole story, there's a 30 for 30 in there. So I would want him in there to pepper him questions on that.
Jimmy Buckets is a good one.
Yeah, Jimmy Buckets. I think I don't hear from Anthony Davis enough. I would love to probe, and just see who he is. Like, has anyone, can you remember the last time you've heard anything poignant from Anthony Davis?
No, I was in New Orleans for a while,
right,
in an area for a while, yeah, and you really didn't get much from Anthony Davis.
So he would be a guy that I think he needs someone to bring it out of him, and I think Jimmy being Jimmy would allow a guy like AD to relax and also give it up. So he would be a guy I would want. Last guy. If he's high, KD.
Oh, yeah.
High KD was amazing. I don't know if y'all saw the whole Letterman thing on Netflix. He was amazing in admitting that he was high and being as transparent as he was while being high. So
I didn't see that.
No.
Yeah, it was amazing.
I'll check that one out.
Yeah, it was probably the most honest. Like, he's been honest in his tweets a lot over the last year or so since he stopped using burners, allegedly. Mm-hmm. But that was the most transparent I had ever seen KD. So if he's high out of his mind, give me KD.
I want to know Kawhi. I just want to like sit down with him.
I don't think he would.
I feel like
now, he's another one that he's high a lot.
Yeah, so
he's a quiet high.
If I can get him in the, if you can get him in the right spot, we go
out. I like that. I just don't know if even if he's high, he's going to give it up. I think he's even a quiet high guy.
Yeah.
So that's tough.
I'm not trying to like spit out anything like lace a guy, but I just, just in case.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, look, I would love to ask Kawhi what really happened in San Antonio. Yeah. I've been told a few different versions of what really happened there. So I would say, like, that's the way, in this whole new media craze of players having access and having platforms and leveraging it against traditional media, that's, to me, is their only advantage. Is being able to set the floor for other athletes to come in and be comfortable enough to share those stories. But I don't know who Kawhi is going to talk to. All I've heard about Kawhi is he smokes a lot.
I can see that.
And he hoops, he goes home, and he smokes. Rinse and repeat. That's literally all the man does.
And probably puts a lot of ice on his body or something like that.
Sure, all of that. Yeah. So that's kind of the thing for me. It's like, I just don't know what it would take. Maybe Snoop Dogg could get him to open up. Snoop might be the only one who could outsmoke him.
I just got an update from my phone not too long ago here. The Knicks making moves for Jalen Brunson.
Good luck.
Yeah, I don't. It's not.
I mean, Brunson's really nice player, but that's somebody the Knicks are going to really pay for.
Is he a client of CAA? Because the Knicks only deal with CAA guys. The Knicks are a CAA hotbed. They are in bed with that agency from top to bottom. So if Jalen Brunson's a CAA guy, there might actually be some validity to that report because they only deal with CAA.
Yes. Drew Morrison.
There you go. So okay, so G, you might get Jalen Brunson.
Great.
You're not going to get the guy from the playoffs, though.
No. We're gonna
just
get
going to
like,
get the guy that's now overpaid, and he's just going to go back to being Jalen Brunson from 2 years ago.
who was the big guy that we got? Jerome James after his epic playoff performance.
Sonics, yeah, that was
a
bad.
big boy right there.
That was bad. Yeah. But I don't think it'll be that bad. At least Jalen Brunson was impactful. Jerome James is just a big body that just happened to cash out. Jalen Brunson's actually really good.
I wish Patrick Ewing played in an era with like prime Houston and prime Latrell Sprewell instead of kind of the tail end of that.
Yeah, they just refused to surround him with talent. The 80s were an era where unless you were the Celtics or the Lakers, if you had one guy, they actually believed that should be enough.
Yeah.
It was laughable. Like the Bulls had Jordan. They thought, okay, that should be enough. He could go get 63 in the Boston Garden, and we should be able to win that against 6 Hall of Famers.
Yeah, no.
Just one guy should be enough. And I think with Patrick, I wish he could play in today's era because he had the jump shot.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did.
And he would probably be shooting threes. He shot 19 threes he made 19 threes in his career for a guy that, for an era where big men were not allowed to shoot more than 10 feet out.
Yeah, but he would routinely hit like those 15-foot jumpers.
Yeah, that was his game.
Yeah.
Especially later in his career. That was his pet shot, the drop step fadeaway. That was it. You were getting that every time down.
What could have been? That's
Especially
the life of a Knicks fan.
Yeah, that's Sprewell. Sprewell was so good back then too, man.
Yeah, I was a big Allen Houston guy.
Sprewell, Houston, Camby.
Yeah.
That was a big
Camby.
Camby.
Marcus Camby.
Yeah.
What did he go to UMass, right?
Yeah, UMass, baby.
Yeah.
Oh man, good stuff. So Chase, just before we wrap up here, did you have anybody that you think you would want to have on your NBA Takeover pod?
Like you said, we would have to have somebody else there with Kawhi. I'm trying to think like who's a good personality. The intrigue of Kyrie, like I just want to I think just to go off like in La La Land.
Oh, Michael Beasley too.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I want. Let's get weird.
That's also a lot of weed.
Yeah. Ooh, Michael Beasley. That room would be. Yikes city.
Contact high.
Oh yeah, if we're talking former players too, then I could switch up mine. I thought we were talking current day players. But yeah.
I was just throwing. I mean, you mentioned Kyrie and the flat Earth type of.
Oh yeah.
I think
he loves to get
Michael
weird.
Beasley.
Who else would I want? I was just thinking of somebody.
What do you think of these guys who are trying to get into the media, like CJ, JJ Redick, any of those guys?
I didn't want to do that because I love CJ. CJ's good. Danny Green's pretty dang good.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we're going to talk about just fun, Boban would be awesome. Get Boban and Tobias.
Sure.
Those guys would be
good,
fun.
Good luck finding headphones for him. Those ears,
dude,
yikes!
Those things get HBO. But I'd say I would love CJ. That's probably my number one.
CJ McCollum.
CJ's got a really good pod.
He's a good talker.
He is a good talker.
I mean, he studied journalism in college, so he's.
Who did we ask we'd rather have? Oh, it was CJ and Draymond. Whose career would you rather have? Wasn't it?
I think so.
Ooh.
Yeah.
CJ's made more money, right? No, Draymond's he's got 2 max contracts.
I bet it's close and also you got to think about the CJ impact because of the Players Association, stuff like that. He's such an integral part of the league outside of just the court. So
if you want to be more famous, you go Draymond. If you want to be more impactful, you go CJ.
Yeah. That was really tough for me because I love the CJ aspect because he's such a smart dude. And he beat Duke in the first round. So
I love that. I love that.
Tar Heels.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. And now former players. You said you had a couple of mine, Sam. Who would you go with former players?
I want all the crazy ones. So Artest, Meta World Peace. I don't know which one he is today. I don't know if he's Meta or Ron Artest.
I think I want Ron on my pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So him. I've heard Tim Duncan is a great talker. We've never seen that, but I've heard he's hilarious. He's got quick wit. I've heard all this stuff about you need to talk, have one conversation with Tim Duncan it'll completely shift what you think of him. So
still rocking the dreads.
Ooh, that's a good question. I think did he have him at the 70? No, he wasn't there for the 75. They had him on the video screen doing the awkward wave for the top 75.
That giant hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he is still rocking the dreads. This is salt and pepper dreads.
That's a good look.
I mean, he is from the islands, so it makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then maybe
Sheed.
I think Sheed's calmed down.
Yeah.
It was Sheed in his career, yes. Now Sheed, I don't know. I think Shaq now is being a lot more transparent. So I wouldn't mind having Shaq.
Yeah.
But I would be asking some tough questions to Shaq that I don't think he'll answer. Penny. I'll go with Penny. Penny.
Yeah.
Penny.
We were just talking about how I had Shaq on the show in Louisiana that one time.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. That was pretty dope.
Yeah. In studio, right?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't live on the show in studio. We did it in a production studio.
And recorded it in the studio. Yeah.
And I literally had to bolt back to the studio to do my show, like start the open. I didn't get a chance to get a picture with him. I was pissed.
Yeah, Shaq is a one of one.
Yeah.
He's a one of one personality, one of one everything, one of one basketball player, one of one pitch man. Just a one of one.
That boy he is great in business.
Yeah. He will sell anything. If the check clears, he will push your product.
He and Charles both. Like Charles is a good pod too. Just listen to him. I've heard him on Russillo and Simmons and all those guys. So.
Him and Ernie, isn't that the Steam Room podcast?
Yes.
Me and Draymond are going to host the second rendition of that.
The sauna?
Yeah.
Just the sauna.
Yeah, we're going to have the sauna. Draymond.
I'm a big sauna guy, so I've potted from an actual sauna, so it's possible.
Ooh.
Wow.
It's possible.
Love a good sauna.
Oh,
yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I built one. I have one in my crib. I built it from the ground up.
Dude,
you just got to get a grow tent. You get a grow tent and hook it up with some lights, bro.
Wait, you have a sauna in your apartment right now?
Well, this isn't my apartment, but in my actual apartment, I do have a full length sauna in my apartment.
What? Wow. I did not know
this. I built that during the pandemic. That was my
wow.
That was my fix during the pandemic. Was a bunch of DIY shit, just figuring out. All right, I can't go nowhere, so how do I build the stuff that I used to like in my apartment?
That's dope.
The sauna was one of those things.
Chase is going to do that in his new house.
That's it, baby.
Dude, it's like maybe $350, maybe like max. Everything.
Jeez.
The grow tent, the lights, the stool, the whole thing. Yeah.
Genius.
It's pretty dope.
You got a YouTube video on that?
I've been told I should do one.
Yeah,
I've been told I should do one.
Sweet.
So yeah.
Coming soon.
Coming soon
to the Sam D YouTube channel. Yeah. How to build your own sauna.
Sam D's YouTube channel just blows up in like 4 weeks from DIY.
Yeah, just off that.
Yeah,
not the hot takes, not the trash narratives of the podcast, but my sauna video was the one that put me over the top.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, all the Ashleys and Renees and stuff like that are like, oh my God, DIY.
Yeah.
DIY with Sam D.
Here we go.
That really would be the story of my life. I do a pod for 6 years with a sauna video. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's crazy nowadays. All right, well, I think that's a good place to end on. Sam Dusenbury Jr. Follow him all over social media at the Sam D, TheESAMD, as well as the pod, the Sam D Podcast, all over social media as well. Get the podcast wherever you can, wherever you get your podcast. 5 stars, nothing less. Tell a friend, write a review, do all that good stuff because you're going to want to after you listen to any of the episodes that he puts out. Sam, appreciate you as always, man. Thanks so much for being here, dude. It's always good chopping it up with you, especially NBA-wise and just anytime.
For sure. I always like chopping up with you. Chase, it's been great to finally get a chance to chop it up with you as well. So awesome, man. We really like what you guys got here and look forward to doing it again.
Thanks, buddy.
We absolutely will. Don't forget, before we go, write us a review. Give us a little bit of a rating wherever you get your podcasts as well, the Chat It Up podcast. You can follow Chase, as it says down there, at MCGreen423, at G_ESPN Chat. That's it. We're out of here. Have a great rest of the week. We will see you next time.